You know that feeling, right? You walk away from a chat thinking you're totally on the same page, but then you find out the other person heard something completely different. It's so frustrating. It's like you're trying to yell across a canyon. Well, guess what? Today, we're diving into a practical blueprint for building a bridge across that canyon, and it comes straight from an expert, trial lawyer Jefferson Fisher.
This right here, this is the core of his whole philosophy. And it makes so much sense when you think about it. For most people we meet, our words are literally the only evidence they have to figure out who we are. Our personality, our intelligence, our kindness, it all gets filtered through the words we choose.
And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is the central problem in pretty much every conversation we have. You've got an idea, a feeling, a fact you want to get across, but somewhere on that journey, from your brain to theirs, the signal just gets scrambled.
And this constant risk of scrambled signals, well, that leads us right into what Fisher calls the fundamental problem in all human interaction, the communication gap. He basically argues that this is where almost every single misunderstanding we'll ever have is born.
It sounds so simple, but it's actually really profound. We all walk around assuming that what we meant to say is exactly what the other person heard. But that's almost never the case, is it? We're all listening through our own unique filters, our past experiences, our current mood, the whole shebang. Fisher has this perfect analogy for it. He says it's like you're tuned in to a 90s country station, right? But the person you're talking to, their radio is tuned to 2000s R&B. You're both technically listening to music, but you are experiencing completely different songs on totally different frequencies. No wonder we get confused. So, if we're all on different radio stations, how in the world do we bridge this gap? Well, Fisher's first piece of advice isn't some clever tactic. It's actually a huge mindset shift. He says we have to completely change our goal when we get into a disagreement. We have to stop trying to win.
Think about it. Most of us go into an argument wanting to be right to prove our point. But Fisher says that just tightens the knot, making it worse. The real goal, he says, should be to look at the problem together as a team and ask, okay, how do we untangle this thing? It completely shifts the vibe from a battle to a collaborative puzzle. And here's a super simple but crazy powerful tactical change. It's just swapping one little word. When you ask someone, why did you do that? How does that land? It sounds like an attack, right? It puts them straight on the defensive. But watch what happens when you rephrase it as, what was going through your mind when that happened? See the difference? Suddenly, it's not an accusation. It's an invitation. You're just curious. And this might be the single most powerful tool to get you both back on the same frequency. The moment you feel that communication gap opening up, just pause the conversation and ask this really simple question. Hey, what did you hear me say? It stops the argument in its tracks and gets you both focused on the real problem, that gap between what was sent and what was actually received. Okay, so now that we've got the mindset right, let's get practical. Let's build a blueprint with the actual strategies Fisher recommends for navigating those really tough conversations that, let's be honest, we all try to avoid. You know that old trick, the compliment sandwich? Yeah, Fisher says, forget it. People can see that coming from a mile away, and it just feels fake. He says a better way is to be direct, but also kind. So step 1, just acknowledge it's tough. Hey, this isn't an easy conversation to have. Step 2, deliver the news directly. And step 3, and this is the key, empower them. Saying something like, I'm telling you this because I respect you and I know you can handle it, shows that you trust their strength. It can turn a really hard moment into one built on trust. Okay, picture a typical disagreement. Maybe at home, maybe at work. It's usually set up like this, right? You're on one side of the table, I'm on the other, and the problem is sitting right there between us. It's automatically confrontational. So Fisher suggests this incredibly powerful reframe. He says to physically and mentally move to the same side of the table. You can even say, hey, come sit next to me, let's look at this thing together. All of a sudden, a messy room is no longer about your mess. It's just the messy room. The problem becomes the problem, not the person. And the question shifts from, why did you do this, to what should we do about this? It's a total game changer.
Ooh, this one is brilliant for handling those little passive-aggressive digs or belittling comments. When someone says something mean, they're usually looking for a reaction, right? They want that little dopamine hit. But by just calmly looking at them and saying, I'm sorry, what was that? I need you to repeat it. You take all the fun out of it for them. You're not giving them the reaction they crave. Instead, you're putting a big spotlight on their own words and forcing them to actually hear what they just said out loud.
All right, so we've got some great tools for conversations with other people. But what about the conversation we have with ourselves? How do we build that inner confidence, that authentic voice we need to actually use these tools well?
If you're someone who gets nervous and starts talking too fast or rambling, this is your new mantra. Before you say anything, just take a breath. That tiny pause does 3 amazing things. 1, it calms your nerves. 2, it gets rid of all those filler words like and so. And 3, it signals to the other person that what you're about to say is thoughtful and important. You project authority before you've even said a word. This is such a fantastic analogy for avoiding oversharing. So many of us, especially when we're nervous or we really want to be believed, we become a waterfall of words, just gushing information. But as Fisher points out, the more words you use to tell the truth, the more it can actually start to sound like a lie. Being a well means you're calm. You hold your knowledge deeply. You don't need to prove anything. People can draw from your expertise when they need it, which ironically makes you seem way more confident and knowledgeable. Now, to tie all of this together, Fisher suggests we should define a few core values for our conversations. Here are his 3, which are pretty great. First, be a lighthouse. Even if you can't agree with someone, you can be a steady, reliable source of light. Second, use kindness. If there's any room for it, just use it. It's a choice you'll never regret. And third, let your words tell them who you are. This means your character, your integrity, your empathy should just shine through what you say. You shouldn't have to rely on a fancy job title to define you. So when you start putting all these pieces together, the mindset, the tactics, the inner work, you're left with this incredibly empowering truth. Real, meaningful change in your life, your relationships, your career, it's not some far-off goal. It's right here, right now, completely within your control. This right here is the biggest takeaway. It honestly doesn't matter what you've said in the past. It doesn't matter how many conversations you feel like you've totally botched. The power to change everything isn't in some book you have to read or some course you have to take. It's in the very next sentence that comes out of your mouth. And that really brings us to the final question, the one to leave you with. Take a second and really think about it. If a total stranger just listened to your last 5 conversations, who would they think you are? What kind of person would your words paint a picture of? Because at the end of the day, your words are building your identity and your reputation in real time. It's really that simple, and it's also that powerful. You have the blueprint now. The only question left is, what are you going to build with your very next words?